This is leasehold property. You don't own, the government or the MST nations, they retain ownership of the land, which is what actually appreciates. It's a lease. It's not ownership, as the NDP is advertising here. All right, I did a video last week on the BC NDP's plan to build 2,600 new homes at 40% below what the free market can build and deliver at. Now, they've changed that just recently. Now they're talking about, David Eby, 25,000 homes. It's always changing. We're in an election cycle here, election coming up, so they're just making these numbers up at this point. But the idea is that government can build more affordable housing than the free market can. And of course, the BC NDP, David Eby, left-wing radical socialist, he doesn't think the free market really has much of a place in housing and that the government needs to get into the business here. So I did this video, again, last week. It was syndicated. So I had a guy call me up from I'm going to say center-right conservative media outlet called True North, and wrote a great article. I will leave the link below in the description if you want to check it out. Headline is, Vancouver realtor Jay Coupar raises concerns about pricing and long-term value of 99-year leasehold homes, leasehold, being billed as a homeownership dream by the BC NDP. He goes on to say that these are glorified rentals. So how this is going to work is that 40% of the cost is going to be subsidized by the taxpayer here. The buyer is going to pay this back when sold or after 25 years in the form of a second mortgage. So let me know what you guys think. Does this sound like a good deal to you? Leave it in the comments section. So this is in cooperation with the MST nations, but it is a 99-year lease. Okay, remember that. This is leasehold property. You don't own, the government or the MST nations, they retain ownership of the land, which is what actually appreciates. It's a lease. It's not ownership, as the NDP is advertising here. But here are the prices. This is really eye-opening. One bedroom start at $850,000, two bedrooms $1.3 million, three bedrooms $1.5 million. Now, if you ask me, you would have to be out of your mind. I would advise clients steer away from these. This is another socialist science experiment of the NDP. I would not even touch these at those kind of prices. Now, there are going to be subsidies. How you're going to get those subsidies, I don't know how that's going to work. My guess, if I were to venture a guess here, is that you're going to have friends in high places. You're going to have connections to the NDP government or the MST nations. That's what I suspect anyway. But Mr. Trudeau and David Eby are big proponents of this housing model. They're both two peas in a pod. They see it's the same ideology of socialism here. And they think this is the model that we should be using going forward. It actually originated in Singapore. And hey, if it works in Singapore, why not apply that to the Vancouver housing market? And that's going to alleviate the housing crisis here. But let's look into that Singapore model, because I think you got to understand here, again, in Singapore, these government-owned and operated homes are 99-year leases, and most people in Singapore live in these units. Now, for those of you that own in Singapore, and I believe it's only about the top 10% that can afford to own in Singapore, freehold, the prices on these, and I know because I just had a client get back from Singapore, the prices there for freehold property are astronomical, far higher than in the city of Vancouver. So that's why these are cheaper, is you're getting a 99-year lease and it's heavily taxpayer subsidized. But Trudeau and Eby are big supporters of this. What this is, it's really not home ownership as being advertised. In fact, it's the opposite. It's the government at all levels essentially waving the white flag on home ownership. Nobody's going to be able to afford to own freehold in BC, so let's give them the opportunity to let the government take an equity stake and they can get into a leasehold or a purpose-built rental. That's the plan. That's the way things are going. And I do think we're going to be moving towards more of a socialist model, a Singapore model. That's just the way the tides are moving here. And it's the old story, you will own nothing and be happy. The window on home ownership, on freehold ownership, is closing here, in my opinion. I can still get you into a high quality, concrete, 1-bedroom condo in a well-run strata in a good location in the mid to high 700. Might not be brand new, but freehold ownership. And again, the window to that is going to be closing here. You're going to see more and more of these leasehold and purpose-built rental projects. That's the way we're moving. All right. I'm Jay Coupar. Feel free to comment below or subscribe. If you want an assessment on your home, click that green icon, and I usually get that to you within a couple of days. See you in the next video.